Welcome everyone to tonight's masterclass. My name is Brian Mariani. I'm the eldest son of Russell Mariani and Megan Moore. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening, and we are excited to get started. I'm going to introduce my dad, Russell Mariani, and my mom, Megan Moore. They are the co-founders of the Center for Functional Nutrition, and for many decades now, they have been serving people all around the world with a variety of health concerns, disorders, and finding extraordinary ways to bring people to health, to sustain health, and we've built this amazing community over many, many years, and we're just so grateful that you're sharing some time with us this evening. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my dad, Russell Mariani.
Thank you, Brian. Can you hear me okay?
Good to go.
Okay. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I see some familiar faces that I haven't seen in a while, so thank you all very much for coming tonight. I wanted to begin, so this is the masterclass called The Gut Rules, and you all received an invitation. And in that invitation, it said that a few of the things that we're going to go over tonight are the 3 myths fueling your confusion and why most gut fixes fail. And I'm going to get right to those answers in just a minute. I don't know about you, but on my news feed, often I get ads, pop-up ads that try to address gut health issues. And the person speaking goes, I've actually listened all the way through a few times. And it goes on for 20 minutes or 25 minutes or 30 minutes, and they never get to, answering the question that they began with. So I'm going to do that as a first thing. For those of you who are meeting me for the very first time, I just wanted to introduce myself briefly and let you all know that yesterday I celebrated a very special anniversary in my life. It was 45 years ago, yesterday, June 9th, 1980, that I made the decision to become a health educator and digestive wellness expert. And Brian, you got that sound okay?
Yep. Sometimes people will just come in, but I'm keeping an eye on it. I'll mute as
Okay. Okay, very good. And so again, how I got involved with this work back in 1973 at the ripe old age of 18, I was misdiagnosed with, excuse me, colon cancer. And after a couple of months of tests, it was confirmed that I had what the doctors called at the time a precancerous inflammatory bowel disease called ulcerative colitis. I was told that it had nothing to do with my diet. I'd probably have to be on medication every day for the rest of my life. And probably before the age of 30, I would require surgery to fix the problem because the medications at that time weren't very reliable. Well, as you can imagine, that was not very good news to an 18-year-old. And so on my own, I went to the physical public library. There was no internet at the time, and found several books that linked the our diet with all kinds of, degenerative type conditions, including all kinds of digestive system problems. So I went back very eagerly to my doctor about a month later with 4 or 5 books in my hands and said, look, there's definitely a connection to my diet because I was on this crazy high protein diet. And I'm pretty confident that that contributed to my condition. And the doctor said, young man, don't self-diagnose. Your diet has nothing to do with your condition, and just follow your medical protocol. So, make a long story short, I decided on that day to not follow the medical protocol. I didn't like the way that doctor treated me personally. I never let him treat me medically. And so I went off on my own, starting with those few books that I found, and made some simple changes to my diet. And within a month, I was seeing significant improvement. And within a few months after that, I was pretty much completely fine. Well, that experience made a major difference in my life, really got my attention. And so within a few more years' time, I found a school that I could go to that was not a university or a college, but it was an alternative school studying traditional diet and the relationship between the modern diet and disease and traditional diets and the natural healing process. And so that's how I got my start. And between 1973 and 1980, I considered those 7 years my apprenticeship. And in 1980, I started working with people, teaching them what I had learned in my own self healing process. And I've been doing the same work pretty much ever since, continuously learning, continuously attending seminars. And so uh, in 2006, I wrote my first book called Healing Digestive Illness. And that was really the first time that I put together uh, my program on paper, which I had been using with people, since 1980. And so basically, what I want to do tonight is just summarize briefly what the core principles are in what I call functional medicine or functional nutrition, and then talk about the 7 root cause areas. But I just remembered, before I do that, we're going to jump to the 3 biggest myths fueling your confusion, because I know many of you came tonight to get that addressed. And so, very simply, 3 of the biggest myths are: number 1, that the right diet fixes all gut problems. Number 2 would be that the right probiotic supplement fixes all gut problems. And number 3, many people are told that it's all in your head. It's mind over matter. If you'll just manage your negative stress better, your gut problems will clear up. And so I'm here to tell you that none of these things are correct. And I'll get into what is correct and what is the best approach that I've certainly found and has been a sustainable approach over many, many, many years. And so the second question was, why do most gut fixes fail? And the simple answer to that question is because most gut fixes are only addressing 1 or 2 of what I call the 7 root cause areas. And if you're lucky, you could make 1 or 2 changes and see improvement. But typically, I am working with people who have tried many, many things over many years and have not had the success that they're looking for. And when I teach them my basic approach and walk them through my approach, they get better. And many times they're getting better for the first time in many, many years. So what is that basic approach? I'm just going to go over it briefly, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So the way I understand functional medicine, functional nutrition, it's based on 2 key principles. And those principles are, number 1, that the body is constantly healing itself. The body is constantly trying to restore normal functioning not just to the digestive system, but to all the organs and systems and cells. Now, medically or scientifically or physiologically, we refer to this principle as homeostasis, the innate ability of the body to fix itself, heal itself, correct itself, restore function. When I define normal functioning as having no negative symptoms at all. Okay? So that's the first principle. The second principle is when it comes to all the decisions that we make in our diet, in our lifestyle, nothing is neutral, but especially the decisions that we make, the choices that we make about what we eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, what we take in for supplements and what we take in for medications, if we take medications. Nothing is neutral. Everything, everything that we put into our body is either helping our body restore function or it's actively preventing that from taking place. So it becomes very important to know the difference between what I call complementary habits, which are complementary to that first principle, complementary to homeostasis, complementary to the body's ability and desire to restore normal functioning. And so there are 7 distinct and yet interconnected root cause areas. And I'll just go over them briefly, and then we can go to the Q&A. So the first root cause area is mindfulness, and that would include everything that you already know and have learned about the importance of mindfulness and how to practice mindfulness. In my understanding, mindfulness is knowing the difference between the complementary and insulting habits and actively choosing to practice the complementary habits. And you could say, so there are 6 other root cause areas, and I'll explain them briefly. But what I like to refer to as the gut rules often come out of this first root cause area, knowing the difference. What are some of the most predominant insulting habits? So I've identified 7 simple habits that probably none of these will be new to anyone, but many times these are the habits that are blocking or preventing someone from experiencing digestive wellness. One of those habits would be not preparing yourself to eat a meal. In other words, eating a meal when you're stressed out, eating a meal when you're tired, eating a meal when you're angry. So it's important to take a moment before you eat anything and decide if you are physically and emotionally ready to receive that food, and are you ready for digestion to begin, or do you need to take a few minutes and go for a walk and kind of clear the air? The second one would be to sit down when you eat. Many people suffer from indigestion, acid reflux, and many times it's being caused because they're not sitting down when they're eating. Number 3, chew every mouthful until baby food consistency before swallowing. Now, if we took 100 people off the street, not one person would disagree that chewing properly is a very complimentary habit, but very few people do it. And so sometimes you have to actually remind yourself and maybe take 3 or 4 days in a row or 7 days in a row and practice this complementary habit. I have many stories over the years where people did that very attentively, very mindfully for 7 days in a row, totally changed their condition, totally cleared up their digestive distress. Number 4 would be never eat to fullness. And you've probably heard this one over the years, very common sense complementary habit. And it's called by different names and different traditions, but Never eat to fullness. Number 5 would be don't eat late at night. Again, this is a very insulting habit. We should discipline if you're perfectly healthy and don't have any digestive system problems, please eat what you want and do what you want. So the context from which I'm speaking is if you're having problems, if you're having challenges, if you're experiencing negative symptoms, then implementing these ideas and implementing these habits can make the difference and can make the difference pretty quickly. So one of those things, one of those major insults is eating late at night. So when I'm working with people, especially in the very beginning part of their healing journey, I'll ask everybody to eat more at breakfast, eat more at lunch, and have the evening meal, but don't eat too much at the evening meal. And then once you push away from that evening meal, don't eat anything after that. And again, that can create massive improvement very quickly. Number 6, don't eat or drink anything too cold. The cold influence can cause problems with digestion, can definitely trigger indigestion, acid reflux, gas, bloating, cramping, all kinds of things. And it's just the temperature of the food. And lastly, don't restrict your belly. If you're experiencing gas and bloating and cramping and any negative symptom there, check your belt, check your pants. Make sure your belly, your abdomen is not restricted in any way. Again, you might be laughing out there hearing me say this, but you'd be amazed how many people are wearing tight pants and they never think to make a change in that area. But loosening that area up, your belly is like a bellows, breathing in and breathing out. It needs to have movement, and if it's restricted, it can cause problems. Okay. So I just looked at the clock and realized how time is flying. So I'm just going to mention briefly the other 6 root cause areas, and then we'll go to the Q&A. Because everyone attending tonight will get a copy of my book in ebook form, and it explains all of these root cause areas in great detail. So root cause area number 1 is mindfulness, which we just talked about. Root cause area number 2 is proper daily hydration. Every cell of your body, 55 to 75% of the physical structure of every cell is water. And so if there's drought at any level, that can cause a lot of problems. Root cause area number 3 is micronutrient deficiencies, vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids. There are close to 100 different micronutrients that have been identified. And if you're missing any of the key ones, that can be the reason why things are not functioning normally. Root cause area number 4 is macronutrient imbalances. And so that means your whole foods. What do I eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks? What are the best foods? What are the best food groups? What are the best proportions from those food groups that I should be selecting from? Root cause area number 5 is intestinal dysbiosis. I could make the argument that this is the most important one. And if you have intestinal dysbiosis, means that of the thousands of trillions of microorganisms living in your digestive system, you have an overgrowth of the wrong kind of organisms: bacteria, virus, yeast, mold, fungus, parasites. There's all kinds of things that can get in there, causing all kinds of problems. And that problem is called intestinal dysbiosis. So one of the first things I do with everyone that I work with one-on-one is put them through a simple process that takes about 4 to 5 weeks to complete, where we physically remove the bad organisms while we're growing the new ecosystem of organisms. So we transform a dysbiotic microbiome into a symbiotic or healthy microbiome. Root cause area number 6 is oxidative stress. And basically, every insulting habit produces oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is the medical term for inflammation. And inflammation is definitely at the root of all cellular dysfunction. So, of course, I'm going to help everybody to look at uh, all sources of oxidative stress, not just in their diet, not just with their medications or supplements or beverages or foods, but anywhere else in their lifestyle as well. And then the last root cause area is something called redox signaling. Redox signaling was unknown until about 1997, so it's a relatively new science. The three scientists who made the discovery of redox signaling molecules won the Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology in 1998. And then since 1998, laboratories around the world have been trying to biosynthesize these molecules, which are made in the mitochondria of every cell of our body, of every healthy cell in our body. And in 2008, a company called ASEA cracked the code, figured out how to uh, manufacture bioactive redox signaling molecules that are identical to the ones made inside our own cells and put that into supplement form. They stabilize these highly reactive redox signaling molecules. And so for many people, this has been the missing piece of the puzzle. And because all cells signal, all using these redox signaling molecules, they're messenger molecules, communication molecules, they activate all of the biomachinery inside cells, including communication between cells. So it's a major biomedical breakthrough. Brian, Megan, and I have been using a redox signaling supplement since we were first introduced back in 2011. So it's definitely a core piece of my program. And I think I will stop there, Brian, and hopefully we've had some questions come in.
Very good. Thank you, everyone who has sent messages privately. I've been collecting them. If there are any questions about that, it should be pretty straightforward. You just pick my name and send me a message, but a bunch of them have been coming through. But please let me know if you're having any trouble. Okay, so question number one. I have someone that said that they read your book and they remembered how important hydration was, and they were just hoping you could speak about how important you feel hydration is in your practice and your programs, um, and go from there.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking it, whoever asked it, and thank you for reading my book. Yeah, so I was a full 15 years into my practice and had never heard of what we affectionately call the water cure or the water cure recipe. I was introduced to Dr. B back in 1997, who taught me the water cure, and it changed my life. It changed my health. It was absolutely transformational. It was one of the three or four core things that I have learned over the years that I feel certain, I feel confident in saying that it's an absolute foundational piece of the puzzle. If your cells are properly hydrated, they will function normally. If they are underhydrated, they will not function normally. And it's just that simple. So the formula is we should drink half our body weight in ounces. So if I weigh 200 pounds, I need to drink 100 ounces of water per day. Depending on my health condition, so the water should be purified, don't drink tap water. Depending on my health condition, that water may need to be body temperature until I get better. Um, to every quart of water, we add somewhere between an eighth of a teaspoon to a quarter of a teaspoon of sea salt, because the sea salt contains minerals and trace minerals, and it's those minerals and trace minerals that function as electrolytes, which allows the water to get into our cells. So we're not drinking the water to flush our system. We're drinking the water to literally hydrate every cell in our body: brain cells, nerve cells, liver cells, kidney cells, lung cells. When I was introduced to the water cure, I had always made sure I had good quality water. In fact, I often went out of my way to get spring water at an actual spring, especially in the early days. But I don't think I ever drank more than 24 or 32 ounces of water a day, because I was told that through my cooking and the cooking of vegetables and grains, that there was plenty of water in my food and I didn't need to drink too much water. In fact, I was always cautioned to be careful to not drink too much water. So, as you could see, year after year went by and I was severely underhydrated, and I had several negative symptoms. I won't go into those details tonight. So, proper daily hydration is transformational. I'll just say that. Thank you for asking that question.
Okay, very good. There's so many other questions, but there's a couple water follow-up questions. So I'm just going to
Okay.
ask those and I'm going to group them all together. So there's a number of questions around salt, Himalayan, Celtic. I guess there's been some kind of news recently that there might be plastics or things like that in them. Is it good to add Celtic sea salt? Does salt raise blood pressure? Is there a difference between salt and Celtic sea salt? Just go into all those details.
Yeah, so table salt is toxic to the body. Don't use refined table salt. Sea salt is harvested from the ocean, and there are many companies harvested from the ocean. Some companies harvest from the ocean. Some companies harvest from old ancient seabeds, in the land, areas that once were ocean but now are landlocked areas. And so, like real salt from Salt Lake City is one of those. So you want to get organic quality sea salt that has a lot of minerals and trace minerals in it. If you look at the nutritional profile of any good quality sea salt, you should find upwards of 40 to 45 minerals and trace minerals. So that's essential. Don't use commercial refined table salt, which is not just pure sodium chloride. Often they're using chlorine and to bleach the salt, because naturally occurring salt is not white, it's gray. And they also add other things to dry the salt. And so, again, refined commercial table salt is really not good for us. It's not healthy at all. In terms of microplastics, yes, I've seen these comments many times. Many people have asked me over the years. I personally have been in touch with the Celtic Sea Salt Company. It's called Salinas Naturally. Um, Selena DeLong is the daughter of Jacques and Yvette DeLong, who started that company back in the 1970s. I bought my original Celtic sea salt in little baggies at the Erewhon Natural Food Company. For those of you who were around back in those days in the 70s in Boston. So here's what I want to say about microplastics. The company assures me that their evaluation shows that this Celtic sea salt is relatively free of microplastics. But here's the thing. The truth is microplastics are everywhere. There's no pristine land, there's no pristine water anywhere on planet Earth, unfortunately. So all we can do is find companies that we trust to produce products and make available products that are relatively pure and safe for sure, but there just isn't anything anymore that we can claim to be 100% pure uh, that comes from nature because nature unfortunately has been polluted over the last 100 years. So let me just leave it at that. Were there any other questions about water or water quality or the water cure?
There's more questions coming in, but for those other questions, I'll just say live here. Please follow up with Megan Moore and our website, russellmariani.com, does have a lot of good resources around water. And for any specifics, please do reach out to Megan Moore. We'd be happy to follow up with you. So just for the sake of time, we'll switch topics.
Brian, now might be a good time to just interject. I don't want people feeling frustrated. One of the things that we're offering to everyone who's participating tonight is a free 30-minute, what we call first step conversation with me. So if you leave the session tonight and you really do have some lingering questions, you should feel free to sign up for that. You can sign up for that free 30-minute session with me through our website. And either Megan may put in the chat the link to how you can sign up for that free 30-minute session. Okay, Brian, back to you. Sorry.
Perfect. I just put the link in there for everyone. So please take advantage of that. Okay, so in another direction, this is actually from the main chat. Could you share how to get rid of dysbiosis, mold, Lyme, parasites? Thanks.
Yeah, so I have a very particular protocol to get rid of dysbiosis and all the negative critters that can be part of dysbiosis. And the problem is that it's not the organisms themselves. The organisms eat the food that you eat and produce waste products. It's the waste products of those negative organisms that are toxic and cause the gas, bloating, cramping, cause the inflammation that leads to leaky gut, where the opposite is true. When you have a predominance of probiotic organisms, they're eating your food and producing waste products, but the waste products of the probiotics are all health promoting. Our B vitamins, natural antibiotics, they produce digestive enzymes, they regulate hormones. So the protocol involves using very specialized herbal products from the American Botanical Pharmacy. I've used the same products for this protocol since 1997, and they are safe and very effective. They literally draw down the population of the bad organisms, killing them safely without any die-off reactions, and then we physically remove them using these specialized herbs. And while we're going through that process, the only thing that you're putting into your body, the only thing you're putting into your digestive system and microbiome are prebiotic foods and probiotic supplements and other supplements that help the growth of that new microbiome. So again, that process is explained thoroughly in my book. And that's, if there's one thing that distinguishes me from a lot of other practitioners who claim to be helpful in this area of gut health and digestive wellness, I would say it's this protocol in combination with the changes in the other 6 areas. But this particular protocol that I've been using for, over 25 years is extremely effective. And sometimes people don't do it long enough. Sometimes people will use the same products, but they only do it for 5 days or 10 days. And I'm doing it for a minimum of 28 days and sometimes 35 and 42 days, depending on the person's level of dysbiosis. So that's a brief explanation of the protocol used to get rid of dysbiosis and reestablish a healthy gut microbiome.
Awesome. And kind of, again, in that realm, what do you think are the major causes of GERD? Capital
So,
GERD.
yeah, GERD is the acronym for gastroesophageal reflux disease. When I was a little kid, my Italian uncles called it agita, which is Italian for heartburn. So GERD is heartburn, nothing more, nothing less. In extreme cases, the reflux can be quite bad. Partially digested food in the stomach is refluxing up into the lower esophagus, which is quite uncomfortable and in many cases can be quite painful. So all of the things that I mentioned earlier, those 7 habits, those 7 habit areas, some of them were insulting habits, like not chewing your food. Not chewing your food causes GERD. Eating cold or drinking cold things causes GERD. Eating past fullness causes GERD. Eating too late at night is the #1 cause of GERD. You need to allow your body at least 3 full hours after you've eaten your evening meal before you lay down and go to sleep. If it takes at least 3 hours for a full meal to get completely properly digested and physically out of your stomach. So if you lie down horizontal and you still have food in your stomach that's digesting, it can reflux. It can come back up. So, there are many things that can cause and trigger GERD. Those are just a few of them. Being uh, being dehydrated, not drinking enough water can cause GERD. One of the problems with GERD is doctors almost automatically assume that your stomach is producing too much hydrochloric acid, and so they'll put you on a proton pump inhibitor medication, which literally shuts off the production of hydrochloric acid. But if you're not properly hydrated, the acid is not too strong, it could be too weak. And that's what's causing the GERD. If you have micronutrient deficiencies, that could be causing weak hydrochloric acid. So it's not by any, in all situations, it's not that the acid is too strong. Many times it's because the acid is too weak or the microbiome in your stomach is out of balance. That can cause GERD. There are many, many causes of GERD.
Awesome. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, dinner like a pauper, and foods from the capital FOD map. Someone
FODMAP.
specifically said they love onions, garlic, but end up with a lot of gas. So, what are your feelings about capital FOD map list of foods?
Yeah, FODMAP list of foods. But what was the first part of the question?
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah, intermittent fast. So when we look at the word breakfast, we understand that breaking the fast is where we get the word breakfast. So by choosing consciously to eat less at the evening meal and then not eat anything until the next morning, that is a form of intermittent fasting. It's probably the oldest form of intermittent fasting. And many people do it every day and they don't think of it as intermittent fasting, but it is. And anytime you are not eating anything for 12 hours or more, that's a form of intermittent fasting. So So it's a very good idea. It's one of the oldest complementary habits that we have in all traditional cultures. If you want to extend the time of your intermittent fast, that's fine. Please experiment and do so. Resting the digestive system is almost always a very good idea. You don't have to do it forever, but doing it once or twice a week is a good idea. Doing it 3 or 4 days in a row, once a month is a good idea. And then if you really want to experiment, you could do it for a week or two. There's all different kinds of ways that people can do intermittent fasting. Some people skip breakfast. They will not eat anything until noon, and that's fine. That's a form of intermittent fasting. My favorite form of intermittent fasting is skipping the evening meal. It is very problematic for a lot of people. They typically eat too much. They have a weak digestive system to begin with, and so they're coming to the end of the day in terms of the energetics of the day, the circadian rhythm of the day, and then they have that as their major meal, and then they feel full and bloated and gassy, and then they have a snack, and so they put themselves in a cycle that their poor digestive system is never getting any type of quality rest. So for those people, intermittent fasting is a very good idea. And I often recommend that people either eat less at that evening meal or skip it entirely. Maybe they'll have lunch and maybe a snack at 3 or 4 o'clock, but almost always, I could say 100% of the time when I guide people through an intermittent fast where they stop eating at, say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they're not eating anything again until 7:30, 8 o'clock the next morning, that's a significant intermittent fast, and it will always produce really good results. In terms of FODMAP foods, this is an example of how people have tried, people meaning scientists, researchers, doctors, other practitioners, have tried to identify problematic foods and take them out of the diet and say, okay, if you avoid these foods and only eat these foods, that's going to fix your digestive problem. And I consistently meet with people, talk to people, take people through my program who've been on the FODMAP diet for years and it didn't work. Or it might have worked in the very beginning, but as time went by, it worked less and less to the point where it's not working at all. And that's because the problem most of the time is not in the food itself, although it can be. And so you have to make sure the food is organic quality. You have to make sure you've prepared it properly. So cooking is a very important art. You have to then make sure you've chewed that food properly. But if you've done all those things and it still seems like the food is the problem, I can almost guarantee you that the deeper problem is dysbiosis. Because when I have walked people through my protocol who were sensitive to all these different foods, and now they have a new microbiome and they're practicing other complementary habits like chewing and not eating late at night, etc., and they go back to the foods that they were told they were either allergic to or sensitive to, many times they can consume those foods with no problems anymore. So I hope that answers the FODMAP question.
Yes, very good. So I've gotten a lot of private messages and a lot of really, really great questions, and I'm going to group them all together again, everyone, just for the sake of time. Please do follow up with Megan at russellmariani.com. Please book some free time in with Russell. He'll answer your questions directly and personally. But for the sake of our masterclass this evening, I've gotten a lot of questions from people saying, I mean, generally, there's so much quick information out there, and there's oftentimes way too much information. So people are asking a lot of questions around, oh, I saw this on social media or on the news about this supplement or this diet or that. And sometimes they go to CVS to get a supplement. Sometimes they go to Whole Foods or wherever their natural food store would be. And they're finding that those things are not working very well. So can you explain, even if you were to buy some high quality probiotic or something, why aren't these things being effective?
Yeah, it's a great question, Brian, or a good summary of maybe many questions all in one. So one thing I can say, or one thing I would like to say in response to that question is one of the things that people pay me for is to select the best supplements so that you don't have to do that. Okay. So people try to sell me stuff all the time. People are constantly reaching out to me to introduce me to the next best probiotic, the next best, the upgrade of digestive enzymes and the upgrade of superfood and all these things, right? And so I am very selective with the supplements I use in my own life, and basically, those supplements I use are the ones I recommend. So I'm constantly learning about new supplements. I constantly get information from some of the top supplement companies and makers, some of the top probiotic makers. I feel very good about the choices that I've made. And, the proof is in the pudding. The people that I work with are typically on 5 to 10 to 15 supplements when I start working with them. Sometimes on 3 or 4 medications, on a restrictive diet, or on some paleo diet or vegan diet or some type of diet. And once I transition them off their uh, various protocols and onto my protocol, uh, they do just fine. Okay, so it is frustrating because everyone makes claims that their supplement is the best, and so all I can say is, or all I want to say is, there is no quick fix. Depending on your level of imbalance, depending on the condition of your microbiome, depending on how extensive the dysbiosis is or may be in your body, uh, even the best probiotic alone is not going to fix that problem. And even the best probiotic combined with the best superfood is often not going to fix that problem. And often the best probiotic, digestive enzyme, superfood, hydration, chewing is not going to fix that problem. In many situations, and there's no way of knowing ahead of time if you fall into this category or if you're in this situation. But many times, the person I'm talking to or the person in question, the level of dysbiosis has gotten to such an extensive negative degree that the only thing that's going to fix the problem is to fix the dysbiosis. At the same time, you're transforming insulting habits into complementary habits in the other 6 root cause areas. So that's what I find. As I said in the beginning, if you are healthy and no problems, keep doing what you're doing. If you can find that by just making 1 or 2 changes, uh, that things improve dramatically, fantastic. The only thing I'm focused on is helping people get results, the results that they're looking for. And so if you can produce those results to your satisfaction by making only 1 or 2 changes, fantastic. I support you in doing that. But if you've been struggling, if you've tried different things and it's just not working, I really encourage you to set up a free 30-minute session, and let's explore, let's have that conversation.
And I'll just say something briefly here for everyone that there's a lot of pressure that I think people feel to find a solution quickly. And so everyone thinks that there's a supplement or a something that's going to make a difference. And from listening to my dad educate for over 30 years now, I can assure everyone here a lot of the solutions that he finds are actually in common foods. And so that's why sometimes people are taking 15, 20 things and, after some time of being educated or working directly with Russell, that can really define itself down to just a few major things, which can be very helpful. So it's not all about the supplement, it's a lot about the food. And there's a
Yeah,
great
it's everything in combination. But that was good, Brian. Good answer or good comment.
And there's a really good question here that I think everyone will love to hear from you, and that's understanding sugar from your perspective. Why is it addicting? Why is it so hard for people to, you know, avoid it or, have it in their lives?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking it. So so here's something to kind of wrap your head around. The we eat food to feed the organisms in our microbiome. We're here talking about the gut rules. Your gut rules your life, and it will ruin your life until you learn the gut rules. So you could say that gut rule number one is your intestinal, the organisms living in your microbiome call the shots. They drive your appetite. They drive your cravings. And if your system is dominated by pathological organisms, the classic dysbiosis, you're going to crave sugar. It's just that simple. The favorite food of the bad organisms, the negative organisms, the pathological organisms, the dysbiotic organism is without doubt sugar in all of its forms. White sugar, brown sugar, molasses, honey, maple syrup, brown brown rice syrup or rice syrup, uh, every imaginable type of refined carbohydrate also converts to sugar very quickly. And so all of those sources feed the bad organisms. And then it just becomes like a, a vicious cycle that it's really difficult to get out of without a major displacement of those bad organisms. So part of the protocol is starving the bad organisms and feeding only the probiotics while we physically remove the bad organisms out of your system. So the favorite food of the bad organisms is sugar, 100%, no question about it, and it drives those addictions. Alcohol, sugar, uh, cookies, cakes, pies, butter flour sugar combinations, all those things. And it's not willpower, it's gut power. That's what's causing the problem.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you everyone for all the questions. I know I missed some specific individual ones, and we're so grateful that you asked them all. And my genuine suggestion to everyone is to please look in the chat. There's a link there for Russell's ebook, which you can follow that link, take it home with you, study it, read it, print it, do whatever you want with it. Um, and there's going to be
Share
links
it.
there, share it. There's going to be links in there for you to book a free session directly with Russell where he can speak to you personally. Again, reach out to Megan at russellmariani.com. And so, Dad, is there anything that you'd like, a last message, any wise words to leave everyone here with tonight?
Sure. People suffer terribly from gut problems, gut health problems, digestive system disorders. Literally, the number one reason that people go to the emergency room is abdominal pain caused by gastritis, not from food poisoning, but from eating their normal diet, but maybe they were stressed out, or maybe because the underlying condition of dysbiosis got triggered by something that didn't usually trigger it, and they're just doubled over in cramps and pain. It's a terrible situation. I know what that's like. I had it myself. It's what motivated me to get better. It is what continues to motivate me to stay in this work, to work with people every day. The decision I made was to learn what I needed to learn, or to share what I had learned to alleviate my own suffering, to get to that point where everything was functioning normally. And so the fear that there was something seriously wrong with me started fading into the rearview mirror, until finally one day I felt, 100% healthy. And so that's what I want to share with people. That's what motivates me as a teacher, as a health educator, to teach these principles and then to teach these practices that will result in a restoration of normal functioning, not only to our gut, but throughout our whole body. When our body is functioning normally, there are no negative symptoms. So I think that's where we'd like to bring things to a close. Thank you, Brian, for hosting. Thank you, Megan, for doing what you did in the background there. And thank you, everyone. It's so great to see you all. Haven't seen some of you in a long time. I hope to be talking to you soon. So, Brian, you can close it out.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here. It's a
Thank you.
testament to it's a testament to decades, really, really, really decades of dedication and hard work. And that's my dad, Russell, and my mom, Megan, that work every single day to provide a community and a space and resources and programs for people to find solutions, even if they seem like they're not possible in your life. So showing up here tonight means the world to us. We hope that you learned something. We hope that you share this far and wide. And this was the Gut Rules Masterclass. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to end the official recording. And if anyone wants to stick around for a minute to just wave hello, again, thank you so much for being here tonight, and we'll see you all very soon.